Have you ever eaten something thinking it was healthy, only to find out later that it could actually be harming you? What if I told you that there's one very common vegetable, yes, something that might be sitting in your fridge right now that Japan's oldest doctor says could trigger a stroke overnight, especially if you're over 60? Sounds shocking, right? Well, keep watching, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what this vegetable is, why it's dangerous, and what most of us grew up believing that vegetables are always good for us, no matter what. We've been told since childhood to eat your greens because they're packed with vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. And while that's true in general, Japan's oldest doctor discovered something that challenges this belief, especially for people over 60. The truth is, not all vegetables are universally healthy for every age group. As the body changes, so does the way it processes certain compounds, and what was once beneficial in your younger years can quietly start causing harm later in life. It's not about vegetables being bad, but about how our aging metabolism, kidneys, and arteries respond differently to them. As we grow older, our organs naturally become less efficient. The kidneys, for example, which act as the body's filters, slow down with age. They don't clear out toxins, minerals, and metabolic byproducts as quickly as they used to. The liver, another key player in detoxification, also loses some of its power. Meanwhile, blood vessels gradually lose their flexibility and become stiffer, meaning that anything that affects blood flow like high salt, sugar, or even certain natural compounds in plants can have a much stronger impact than it would have when you were younger. Japan's oldest doctor, who treated patients well into his 90s, noticed this pattern repeatedly. Many of his elderly patients followed what seemed like perfect diets. Plenty of vegetables, low meat intake, minimal processed foods, yet they were still showing signs of vascular damage, elevated blood pressure, and, in some cases, early symptoms of stroke. He began to investigate and realized that the problem wasn't that his patients were eating the wrong kinds of food in general, but rather that they were eating foods that their older bodies could no longer process effectively. Certain vegetables contain natural chemicals like oxalates, purines, and goitrogens that are harmless to most younger people, but become risky when the body's filtration and repair systems weaken. The body becomes less capable of handling the excess, leading to buildups that can clog arteries, crystallize in the kidneys, or disrupt circulation. So while a 30-year-old can drink green smoothies every morning without issue, someone over 60 might gradually develop thickened blood or calcium deposits without realizing it. Dr. Hinohara used to say that food should be matched not just to your culture or preference, but to your age. Just like we wouldn't expect a car with 200,000 miles to run on the same oil as it did when it was new, our bodies too require adjustments as they age. The foods that energize us in our youth can sometimes overload us in later years. That's why he urged older adults to pay attention to how their bodies feel after eating certain healthy foods. If you feel bloated, dizzy, or fatigued after eating something you believe is good for you, that's your body signaling that it's struggling to process it. For many seniors, certain greens, beans, or even nuts can quietly become stressors rather than supporters of good health. The main lesson is awareness. Aging gracefully doesn't mean giving up nutritious foods. It means choosing them wisely and understanding that your body's relationship with food evolves with time. What's healthy isn't universal, it's personal, and it changes as you do. Spinach has long been seen as one of the healthiest vegetables you can eat. It's loaded with vitamins, iron, and antioxidants, and it's been promoted for generations as a food that strengthens muscles, boosts energy, and protects the heart. But according to Japan's oldest doctor, the same spinach that once gave you strength in your youth can quietly become a threat after 60. The reason lies in something called oxalates, tiny natural compounds that plants produce for protection. While harmless in small amounts, these oxalates can turn dangerous when they build up in an aging body, and spinach happens to be one of the richest sources of them. When you eat spinach, oxalates enter your bloodstream and quickly bind with minerals like calcium and magnesium. In a young, healthy person with strong kidneys, this isn't a problem. The kidneys filter those compounds out efficiently. But as we age, kidney function slows, blood flow weakens, and calcium regulation changes. Instead of being flushed out, these oxalates can start combining with calcium inside your blood vessels and form tiny crystals. Over time, these crystals harden, stiffening the arteries and making it harder for blood to flow freely. That stiffness is one of the earliest warning signs of stroke risk. It doesn't happen overnight, but with years of frequent spinach consumption, it can quietly create the conditions for a blockage or clot to form. Dr. Hinohara observed that many of his older patients, especially those who ate spinach salads or green smoothies every day, had unusual calcium buildup in their arteries. They often looked perfectly healthy on the outside, fit, active and lean, but inside, their blood vessels were narrowing and losing flexibility. It was as if the arteries were aging faster than the rest of the body. When calcium combines with oxalate, it doesn't just stay in the digestive tract. It can travel through the bloodstream and deposit in sensitive areas like the brain's blood vessels or the heart. These microdeposits may not cause immediate symptoms, but over time they can contribute to high blood pressure, reduced circulation, and, ultimately, stroke. What makes this problem even trickier is that spinach's reputation as a superfood leads many people to eat it daily. They add it to juices, soups, salads, and omelets, believing they're doing something good for their health. But too much of a good thing can be harmful, especially when the body's natural balance changes with age. Dr. Hinohara often reminded his patients that after 60, it's not just about the nutrients a food provides, it's also about the load it puts on your system. Spinach's high oxalate content can overload aging kidneys and promote calcium buildup faster than they can handle. The risk doesn't come from eating spinach occasionally, but from eating it too frequently and in large amounts. That's why moderation is key. Cooking spinach and draining the water can remove much of the oxalate content, making it safer. But for seniors, it's best to rotate spinach with lower oxalate greens like cabbage or lettuce to protect blood vessels and maintain proper calcium balance. One of the most valuable lessons Japan's oldest doctor shared was that the way we prepare our food is just as important as what we eat. Many people assume that eating vegetables raw is always healthier because it preserves more nutrients, but for older adults, this isn't always true. In fact, certain vegetables like spinach or beet greens can become significantly safer once they're cooked properly. That's because cooking, especially boiling or steaming, can help break down and remove some of the compounds that stress the body, such as oxalates. When spinach is boiled and the water is discarded, nearly half of those oxalates are removed, making it gentler on the kidneys and blood vessels. This simple cooking step can make the difference between a food that supports longevity and one that slowly increases stroke risk. Dr. Hinohara emphasized that after 60, digestion slows and detoxification weakens, meaning that our bodies no longer process raw or fibrous vegetables the same way they did decades earlier. While raw greens can be refreshing, they also contain natural plant acids that are harder to neutralize. Boiling, Blanching or lightly steaming vegetables softens their fibers, breaks down harmful compounds, and makes nutrients more bioavailable. That's why traditional Japanese cuisine favors lightly cooked vegetables over raw salads, especially for older adults. The goal isn't to eliminate vegetables, but to prepare them in a way that harmonizes with the body's changing needs. Another principle Dr. Hinohara taught was rotation. He believed that no single food, no matter how healthy it seems, should dominate your plate every day. The body thrives on balance and variety. Eating the same high oxalate greens repeatedly, like spinach, Swiss chard, or beet leaves, can quietly cause buildup in the blood over time. By rotating greens, choosing cabbage one day, bok choy the next, and maybe seaweed or zucchini later in the week, you give your body a break from excess compounds and ensure a broader range of nutrients. Each vegetable has a unique mineral profile, and alternating them prevents the risk of overloading your system with any one element. Seaweed, for instance, is a staple in Japan's longevity diet because it's naturally low in oxalates, but rich in magnesium, iodine, and trace minerals that support artery health and blood flow. Cabbage and bok choy are also gentle on the body and provide anti-inflammatory benefits without the risk of calcium crystallization. Even simple vegetables like cucumber or zucchini are excellent for hydration and keeping the blood thin and flowing smoothly. By choosing these lower oxalate alternatives more often, seniors can still enjoy a nutrient-dense diet without straining their kidneys or arteries. Cooking and rotation are not about restriction, they're about wisdom. They're small adjustments that make a big difference over time. The combination of cooking vegetables to reduce their oxalate content and rotating different greens throughout the week creates a natural balance that keeps the body strong, the blood vessels flexible, and the mind clear well into old age. As the body ages, everything about how it processes food begins to change, yet most people continue eating as if they were still in their 30s. Japan's oldest doctor repeatedly pointed out that this is one of the biggest mistakes older adults make. After 60, the digestive system becomes slower, enzyme production declines, and the body's ability to absorb and process nutrients weakens. The liver, which filters toxins and manages fat metabolism, doesn't work as efficiently. The kidneys, which clear waste and balance minerals, lose some of their filtering power. Even the stomach produces less acid, which means proteins and minerals are not broken down as well. This combination can make certain foods, even those considered healthy, more difficult to handle. What used to nourish and strengthen the body can start to overload it without us realizing it. Dr. Hinohara saw this firsthand in his elderly patients. Many of them believed they were eating the perfect diet filled with vegetables, nuts, and supplements, but still suffered from fatigue, high blood pressure, and circulation problems. When he examined their routines more closely, he found that the problem wasn't what they were eating, but how their aging bodies were responding to it. Spinach, beet greens, almonds, and even excessive soy were all creating hidden imbalances because their bodies couldn't process the excess minerals, acids, and compounds as efficiently anymore. For example, foods high in oxalates or purines can accumulate in the blood when kidney function slows down, leading to stiff arteries, calcium deposits, or gout. It's not that these foods are unhealthy by nature, but that the body's tolerance for them decreases with time. That's why adjusting the diet according to age is not just smart, it's essential. After 60, the focus should shift from quantity to quality and from raw strength to gentle nourishment. Foods that are easier to digest, like soups, steamed vegetables, and fermented dishes, provide nutrition without burdening the organs. Instead of eating large portions, smaller, more frequent meals can help maintain steady energy without spiking blood sugar or blood pressure. Japan's traditional meals reflect this wisdom perfectly. They're light, balanced, and full of variety, giving the body everything it needs without excess. Another key change that happens with age is calcium regulation. As bone density naturally decreases, the body tries to compensate by drawing calcium from the bones into the bloodstream. If the diet includes high oxalate vegetables or too much animal protein, that calcium can settle in the arteries instead of the bones, increasing stroke and heart disease risk. This is why Dr. Hinohara often warned against blindly following superfood trends. He preferred moderation, rotation, and balance over extreme diets. He believed that the human body has incredible wisdom, but needs cooperation, not challenge. Adjusting your diet after 60 doesn't mean giving up your favorite foods. It means preparing and combining them differently. The key is to respect what your body is capable of now, not what it could handle decades ago. That awareness helps maintain strong circulation, healthy digestion, and the inner balance needed for long life. One of the most powerful messages Japan's oldest doctor shared throughout his career was that prevention is always better than treatment. He believed that health is not something to fix after it breaks, but something to protect every single day through awareness and small choices. Many people treat illness as something that strikes suddenly, but in reality, most diseases, especially strokes, build up quietly over years. The foods we eat, the habits we form, and the way we treat our bodies day after day determine how healthy or fragile we become later in life. Dr. Hinohara observed that strokes rarely come as complete surprises. They are the result of a long chain of small damages inside the blood vessels, often caused by everyday habits we don't even think twice about. He often said that the human body whispers before it screams. Those whispers come in the form of mild fatigue, light dizziness, headaches, or tingling in the hands and feet. These are early signals that circulation or blood chemistry is out of balance. Instead of ignoring them or masking them with medication, he encouraged his patients to pay attention and make adjustments immediately. A small dietary change, a reduction in portion size, or a few extra glasses of water can sometimes prevent a crisis that would otherwise arrive years later. The doctor noticed that people who lived the longest and healthiest lives were not the ones who had perfect genes or expensive treatments, but those who practiced mindfulness in their daily routines. They didn't eat until they were full. They stayed active, and they took time to breathe and enjoy life without rushing. In his view, prevention wasn't just about diet, but about creating a rhythm in life that supports the body's natural balance. He believed in light dinners, early sleep, gentle exercise, and regular laughter. These habits kept the nervous system calm, reduced inflammation, and improved blood flow, all key factors in preventing stroke. He would often remind his patients that the goal was not to live forever, but to live without suffering. The best medicine, he said, is a calm mind and a clean bloodstream, and both are built through consistency, not medication. He shared many stories of patients who came to him after suffering a minor stroke, desperate to recover. Almost every time, he would tell them that the signs had been there for years: thick blood, high pressure, sluggish digestion, but they ignored them. He would explain that once a vessel is damaged, it can heal to some degree, but it will never be as strong as before. Prevention is about keeping the vessel walls soft and elastic long before they reach a breaking point. That means avoiding habits that silently damage them, like overeating, excessive salt, too much sugar, and even healthy foods like raw spinach when eaten too often. Dr. Hinohara's philosophy was built on the idea that health is a garden. If you water it, feed it properly, and keep the weeds out every day, it flourishes naturally. Waiting until the plants wilt before you act is what most people do with their bodies. His approach flipped that mindset completely. The prevention was not optional, but the foundation of longevity. Every meal, every sip of water, and every peaceful night of rest was a small act of protection that together formed the shield against disease. Japan's oldest doctor believed that true longevity isn't achieved through strict diets, expensive supplements, or extreme routines. It comes from balance in eating, movement, mindset, and even emotions. He often said that health is not about doing more, but about doing what's right for your body in the right amount. Many people think the path to a long life means cutting out everything enjoyable or pushing themselves beyond their limits. But in reality, those approaches create stress, and stress itself can shorten life. Dr. Hinohara's philosophy was simple: eat moderately, move daily, rest deeply, and live with curiosity. He followed this until his last days, working, teaching, and walking even after turning 100. His secret wasn't found in a pill or a diet plan, it was harmony. He saw countless patients who tried to follow extreme diets or health trends, thinking they were protecting their bodies. But what they were really doing was disturbing their internal balance. Some avoided all fats, others overloaded on raw vegetables, and some took so many supplements that their digestion suffered. The body, he explained, thrives when it gets a steady, moderate amount of everything it needs, nothing too much, nothing too little. Overdoing even healthy habits can create imbalance just as much as neglecting them. For example, eating large amounts of high oxalate greens like spinach every day may seem like a good idea, but over time it stresses the kidneys and arteries. Likewise, cutting out entire food groups without reason can lead to deficiencies that make aging harder. Balance also extends beyond food. Dr. Hinohara always encouraged his patients to move their bodies gently every day, but never to exhaust themselves. He believed that motion is life, but rest is healing, and both are equally necessary. He would take the stairs slowly, walk to his office, and stand while giving lectures. These simple movements kept his circulation strong without overstraining his joints or heart. He warned against both extremes, sitting too much and over-exercising, because the key lies in steady, daily effort. A body that moves regularly stays flexible and alert, just like a mind that stays curious and active. Mental balance, he believed, was even more important than physical health. Chronic stress, negative emotions, and isolation weaken the immune system and harden the arteries faster than poor diet alone. That's why he encouraged laughter, companionship, and purpose. People who have something to look forward to each day, whether it's gardening, reading, or helping others, tend to live longer because their hearts stay light. He often said that joy itself is a medicine, and when you lose joy, no food or medicine can fully heal you. He lived his own message with remarkable consistency. He didn't eat much, just enough to sustain his energy, and he never ate for pleasure alone. He ate to nourish, to maintain balance, and to stay clear-minded. His days were simple but meaningful, built around routine, gratitude, and curiosity. That's why his body and mind stayed in sync even past 100 years old. Balance was his secret, not avoiding life's pleasures, but enjoying them wisely. Amply, steps you can take, starting today, to protect your brain, your heart, and your life.